Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Centric. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are crime dramas. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the series finale of Hightown. Great series finale. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. I also want to preface this. I can see how this ending might not be satisfying for people. I enjoyed it. I got a lot of satisfaction of where we are. It leaves a lot of stuff open-ended. That could just be an open-ended conversation. It's a conversation I'm going to have later on once I've kind of talked about the episode as a whole. But I do want to kind of go from the beginning of like, yes, I could see how this finale would not satisfy some people because you're like so many threads are left open, but so much is resolved at the same time. But once again, I don't know if that's a choice or whether that was like kind of not really outside of like Rebecca Cutter, like I know she's like the creator of the show, so I'd assume she's like the head writer. I'm not sure, but like her and the writers, I don't know if like this was kind of a choice taken out of their hands. Whatever the case may be, like I said, have more about that conversation later on. But either way, immediately picking up where the last episode left off, we had Jackie and Tom. That situation is brutal and scary. Her gun's knocked out of her hand because she was ready for it. He was like, dropped the phone. She dropped it and like immediately went for a gun, but he knocked it out of her hand. He's beating on her and dragging her like, dude, come on. Like, there's nothing around. Like, she's grabbing onto like the walls and stuff, trying to hold on. It's like there's nothing she can grab onto to hit him. She gets away from him. He grabs her, bangs her face on the like a counter in the kitchen or something. Like, this is not going good. I was like, oh god. I was like, there's no way. I mean, it's a series finale. They wanted to, they could. So I won't lie to you, the entire episode, I'm a little on edge. I'm like, you don't think Jackie's gonna die? Because like Jackie's not the type to let anything go, so she's like diving deeper into it. And I'm like, this could get her killed, and I was just kind of nervous and weary. I was scared, you know? I was like, there are shows that will kill their protagonist in the series finale, and I was just like, but I'm like, I wouldn't think they'd let it go down like this. Luckily, Jackie was able to fight off. Tom didn't die, and obviously he would have deserved it, but it's a good thing. Like, Jackie did enough to stab him. I guess he didn't strike an artery, so they were able to kind of clog that. But yeah, so Jackie called him back up. Alan's like, what went down? It's like, yeah, it was Tom. He's like, what? It's like, yeah, it was him. Like, Veronica stole that bayonet, sold it to Petey. He tried to go get it back, and things got heated, and he killed Petey. But then, like, the moment Tom walks out, he's not in cuffs. The cop Lipman's there. I'm like, oh, yeah, I see the fixes in. That blue veil is up. And then Lipman's like, no, he's part of our department. We'll take care of him. I'm like, no. Alan's like, no, screw that. This is the Stady's business. We'll handle it. I was like, yeah. And obviously Tom's like, yo, she went in there. She was crazy. She was acting crazy. I was like, yo, trying to flip the script on Jackie. But that... I don't know. I don't remember if I talked about this last episode, because do forgive me, I'm getting to this a little late. It's been like, 2 or 3 weeks now at the time since the finale. But I want to say, I don't remember if I brought up the fact is, I was sort of right, but sort of wrong about who was behind all this. Because my biggest thing was, whoever Swayze was afraid of, I was like, it had to be a cop. So my thought was like, oh, it was Lip because we got introduced to him in episode 3. Like, oh, here he is circling back around. We find out later on he's a piece of crap too. In fact, the entire Fulbrook, for the most part, it seems like the entire department's on the fix, which I thought was so interesting. But so I wasn't, at least... Lipman is part of all of this, so I ended up being kind of technically right in the end. But I was looking at Lipman. Obviously, Tom wasn't even on my radar because, like, we met him once. But whatever reason, like, Lipman, because of his interaction with Jackie and, what's her name, Emma, that interaction made me go, that guy's suspicious. Tom, I didn't read nothing for it because I was like I said, I didn't even remember him until like, oh, right, you're the guy that Jackie met at Pete's, like, crime scene. But it, like I said, Lipman left an impression. I didn't remember his name, but I was like, that dude, I guarantee he's the one behind this. And both of them are responsible. So, either way. Because it turns out that's how Swayze's kind of been getting away with everything. For the past 4 years, he got busted by Tom. It's like, oh, like, you, basically, their side of things is they get girls. That's what this is all about. They get some of Swayze's girls and get to have their quote-unquote fun, and they let Swayze get away with a lot of stuff. That's why he hasn't been busted for anything for the past 4 years. And once again, nothing scarier than a cop that's got you by the balls. Like, you know, the scariest thing in the world can be a dirty cop, because it's like, oh, you have a badge and you can kill me and just kind of make the narrative whatever you want it to be. So, That is a scary thing. So I figured it had to be a cop that was scaring Swayze. But like I said, I just got the wrong cop. But technically I didn't. So, but either way, the whole thing was very traumatic for Jackie. And obviously her talking to Ed. It's just like, it really guts you when you see Jackie like so vulnerable. Because she is so tough. And like shit isn't always great for her. But like when you see her break down. And I think that's just like... obviously just as a testament to Monica Raymond as an actress, but it's just also just like those moments where it's just like her breaking down in front of Ed, like, I was scared because I was about to say, like, here am I going to die in some garage, like, this is what, in Fallbrook, like, this is what my life is going to be. It's like, there's so much more, that's always it, like, you get scared about, like, like, is this really how I'm going to die? I think it had never really fully crossed her mind until this moment. I'm actually surprised she didn't decide to like walk away from being a cop. Like after that conversation with Ed, I almost halfway expected her to decide, oh, I'm gonna quit. Like I'm just gonna like work with like Ed back in fishery. Like that's what. Well, no, because I forgot Ed retired. But I thought like she'd go back to fishery and stuff like that full time. Won't be like a liaison with narcotics. I figured that's what she was going to do, like kind of take the more, like, hey, I'm going to take a step back. But to be fair, Jackie's thing has always been, even outside of like the whole save a hole thing that she's kind of got going for her, trying to be a white knight, she does want to help people and she can do the most in the position she's in. And so I thought that was just, it led to an interesting thing of like, I wasn't sure where she was going to be by the end of the show. When it came to like her job and everything. Ray shows up and it's like, no, you're okay. It's like, right, we got to go after these guys. It's like, she's like, I'm not just going to take Tom down just for, not even just what happened to Petey. I'm going to take him down for everything. Especially because later on, she talks to Veronica and they open up. It turns out Jackie isn't the reason why Veronica disappeared. Like, the fact of the matter is she knew about the Tom situation. It's like, Tom and Swayze were scary people. Like, she's like, yeah, you hit me, but you didn't hit me that hard. But she's like, now, Tom and Swayze, those are people who hit hard. And then it's like, right, she's the one that filled Jackie in on, like, Maxine. She's like, how... I know all what happened to Maxine, and do you know how many people have to be in the know about it for me out of anybody to know? That means like everyone's in the know about what happened to Maxine. She's probably like a cautionary tale, like, yeah, you don't cross Tom, because it was like Tom and Lipman and another dude. Was it like Ramirez? It's like, it's probably the dude that was with Lipman the first time we met him, like I said, back in episode 3, I believe. It's probably that dude. Obviously, Veronica has her reluctancy to trust cops. I mean, cops are what she's had to deal with. But Jackie's like, I'm not asking you to trust a cop. I'm asking you to trust me. And even Veronica's like, wow, you know. So she's willing to put her trust in Jackie, even willing to testify. But she also says like, oh, like you really don't remember our time together, because they spent like 2 days together. She's like, no, I don't remember anything. She's like, yeah, but it wasn't all bad. And kind of touches Jackie, and Jackie's like, no, I'm sure it was great, and kind of walks away, because it's like, yeah, because that would be me slipping back into bad behavior. It's like, whoa, this was like a toxic, messed up situation. I'm trying to be good, because Veronica's like, oh yeah, like the 12-step program doesn't work. She's like, yeah, it might not work for everyone, but it's working for me. It's something that's working for me, and that's good, and I'm happy about that. So, but now with this information, she hits up Alan. They bring in Swayze and they push him, and he kind of lets it slip about all the cops and everyone specifically dropping names. And Jackie takes this information. She tries to go to the DA. The DA wants to take down Tom. Now, it's a little easier to do it with the whole Tom situation, because first and foremost, he got caught in the act of trying to murder another cop. So ain't no sweeping that under the rug. Even she was like, yeah, we'll kind of take the bruising publicly, but you can't really do much about it. But the moment Jackie brought up about taking down all of Fallbrook's cops, she was like, yeah, can't really take the word of a pimp, because it's a nightmare, because the optics of an entire police department being shut down, to be fair, it just depends. If this was like someone else like trying to build a platform of like, oh, we're taking down corruption, oh, they pull the trigger on this. But it's also like, it's not a guaranteed win. There's a lot of pushbacks, the optics of it all. Like, the DA isn't willing to take that fault. Like, is she dirty? I don't know. Maybe, but it could also just be like, I don't want to deal with the headache. One dirty cop is one thing, because I'm sure Lipman and the others want to take him in, try to like, ease the situation, but now Tom's screwed, so they're like, throw him to the wolves. Rest of the department's still okay for now, so we don't really get any resolution on that, but Jackie isn't going to just let that shit slide, so she's like, right, we gotta go for them. And she talks about it with Ray, and it's just kind of like, it's interesting too, because she has this conversation where she was like, man, I thought like, we could get some kind of justice. Like, I know not everything is perfect in this world, but she thought like, right, believes enough in the justice system, like maybe we could like put some bad people away no matter what. But it's like, right, rules don't always work. The same rules don't always apply to other people. And it's like, yeah, I guess at the end of the day, people are just shitty. And then Ray just being like, yeah, you kind of get it. It's like, it's so poetic and ironic for that to be coming out of Ray's mouth, but it's not even ironic because, well, it might be ironic because I don't know if Ray recognized how much of a shitty person he is. It's always unclear. Like, Ray does have moments where I think he realizes that, but I think he has other moments where he doesn't. I don't think he's self-aware in some moments. In that regard of like, I don't think he recognizes the irony behind him being like, yeah, people suck, people can be shitty. So, because at the same time this is all going down, Alan's trying to make his moves now that he knows about Ray. Once again, it's more so about Renee, but they don't have any proof that Ray knows ahead of time, so it would fall on Renee, but that would still be a black eye to the department because you'd also be trying to take like, because it becomes a conversation of, well, what did Ray know and when did he know it? It would become that conversation. And so Alan brings it to like, there's one of their superior officers, and he was like, whoa, shouldn't you be talking to IA about it? He's like, yeah, but I want to talk to you about this because you have an issue with Ray just like me. He's like, yo, the fact is, the narrative can already be written that we all know you have beef with Ray. That is no secret. Everyone in the department fucking knows that. So the optics of that suck. But it's like, either talk to IA or you keep it to yourself. We never had this conversation because it's a nightmare going after another cop with something like this, where it's like, okay, are you sure? Do you want that smoke if you go down this route? Because it could be, as Alan kind of puts it later on with another situation, kind of in the same vein of like, it could be career suicide, this same boat. That's why he went to like his lieutenant or whatever, thinking like, oh, you'll have my back, right? It's like, nah, motherfucker, you're on your own. Either you go to IA about it or you just don't do anything about it. You just keep your mouth shut and keep it moving, So, but the problem is Ray and Renee had already set up their minds last episode of what they're going to do. So, Renee sells the drugs to Osito that they have. They get the $100,000. She finds out where Shanice is staying because Cooper Trooper spilled the beans to Ray because, yeah, Alan generally knows how much of a piece of shit Ray is and what Ray's up to, but Cooper's like, oh my, Abruzzo, like, yeah, and he's complimenting you saying like, hey, we're gonna find a spot on you for narcotics. Oh, that's a great post. Yeah, it is. Now where's that witness at? So, and pays her off. At first, I thought, like, the moment Renee threw out the $50,000, I was like, 50? You have 100? Like, are you going to pocket the rest? But then, like, Shanice started going up in price. I was like, oh, smart. Because if you let her know ahead of time how much money you have, it wouldn't, like, you start lowballing her, and then you work your way up to what you have on you. And so it's like, right, you went from 50 to her 150, you're 75 to her 125, and you stayed at that 100. I'm like, oh. My stupid ass would have been like, yeah, here's $100,000. It's like, especially when she just said that, yo, $30,000 ain't enough. I had to keep working. But Renee made it clear, you take that $100,000. This is the carrot. Next time you will get the stick. You come back, you will die. So she disappears. Alan goes after Ray. It's like, you did it, motherfucker. It's like, to be fair, the silver lining is they didn't kill her, they just made her disappear. But it's still the thing of, you're supposed to be a good cop, you're a cop, you're supposed to do what's right. I get it, we're going after your girlfriend, and it's just, I'm sure, I mean, once again, Alan already has his issues with Ray, but now the conversation could be like, well, did you help Renee? You're covering this up, what your girlfriend did. To be fair, I think they weren't even together at that time when it happened, right? They were on and off because they were sleeping together, but her and Frankie were still a thing at the time, so they weren't even like a couple at that time. So, but it's still a thing of, hey, maybe you helped get rid of the evidence and cover this for her. Like, how involved were you? Once again, the conversation of what did Ray know and when. None of that matters to Alan because Alan hates Ray's guts anyway. They tolerate each other in a lot of ways, that's always the irony behind it, where Ray gets so defensive towards Alan, but it's like, Alan can be an asshole sometimes, but it's also like Alan has 100% has every reason in the world to hate Ray's guts. Like, Ray gives a lot of people reasons to hate him, but yeah, Alan chewed into Ray, and he was like, you know what? Fuck that, I'm out. Like, I'm not going to play your game anymore. I've constantly had to play the fool to your bullshit. You're letting your girlfriend get away with murder. You've crossed the line. Like, you've lost the plot. You're so far up your own ass. It's like Ray's always been the one that tiptoed in that gray area, but generally speaking, he has been a decent cop, but he's also done some shitty things too. So, but this is the final, the straw that broke the camel's back, and so Alan's bouncing, and Jackie was there overhearing all of this, and it's like Alan's like, I don't know if you believe me or not, and I don't care, but he's like, if you look in yourself, looking at you, I can tell you probably do believe me. Like, you know that there's probably some truth to that. And it's like, at the end of the day, you have to decide which side of the line you're going to be on. Because Jackie is indebted to Ray. Because, I mean, we've seen it time and time again. Ray has been her mentor, has been her friend. Like, even when she's had tough times, like, Ray's been there. So are you willing to turn on your friend? Like, this is where you get to that complicated territory of the blue veil of, well, are you willing to turn on that person who's been with you? I mean, there's also the career side of things, which is a big part of the blue veil situation, but it's also like, this is your friend, they've done good to you. Like, so what if they've crossed the line? I mean, great, but Jackie does it because it has to be a situation if no one, either everyone matters or no one matters, you know, as the Harry Bosch perspective on that whole crime situation. So even though it's like, oh, it was Jorge, but it's still like, no, like, you're still murdering someone. No one else should be able to get away with murder, no matter who it is. Why should you? So she's in a very tough spot because she's like, right, this is someone I care about, and she's like, I don't know whether it's that Ray's changed or whether it's I've changed, because obviously she was keeping names out of it during her meeting, but you know, she always wanted to do the right thing, but she's like, am I still in my old pattern of, hey, I'm trying to save a hoe, or is it just a thing of like, no, I am trying to do the right thing, and what should I do? Should I go back to just keeping my head down? That's what I wanted to do, but shit's wilding out right now, and I just don't know what the right thing to do in this moment, because Ray has been someone that's been by my side, and he's kind of lost his way, but it's like, is that just because because that's the thing, like, would Jackie have been more on Ray's side if she wasn't sober right now? And I don't think that, I think she still would feel the same way she does right now, but she's changing, and the thing is, because that's the thing, when Jackie and Ray met, it feels like Ray's always been himself. He hasn't changed over the course of the show. It seems there are moments where he seems like he tries to change, but Ray's kind of always stayed Ray. Jackie's always had her ebb and flows, but it's like you being in a chaotic situation, like constantly in your ebb and flow, your fog, not kind of getting the proper help you needed. Of course, like there's some camaraderie, there's like parallels between you and Ray, but now it's like, right, the fog has kind of been lifted from your eyes, and you're kind of finally seeing Ray for who he really is. You know, you were kind of clouded by like his charm and friendship, and now it's like, nah, I kind of see you for who you are, Ray. You have crossed the line. You lost the plot, homie. So, wasn't expecting her to run into Leslie like she did. That was kind of a nice surprise, because I was like, we get nothing with Leslie? Like, no, we got a scene with Leslie. I was like, that's pretty dope. Turns out she's going to Al-Anon meetings as well, but she's like, yeah, it's more about stuff with my mom. But it's like, yeah, you helped as well. But Jackie says at the end of the day, it's like, right, I am sorry. You are the one that ended up having to transfer units. But for Leslie, it's like, it all worked out in the end. She's like, I'm in a better place. The fact is, I'm going to be taking a sergeant test, you know? So, and it's like, right, Jackie kind of confides in her some of the stuff she's dealing with, specifically the Ray stuff, and it's like, yeah, and even Leslie says it straight up, like, Ray's not a good guy. Because Ray wanted to paint all the stuff between him and Leslie is because, like, oh no, that's Leslie, that's all her, because Jackie was kind of screwed over, but also, once again, Jackie has clarity of, I recognize now, I wasn't 100% the victim I thought I was. Like, they both had the partner playing it, but it was a lot on Jackie of, like, how a lot of that got handled, how it messed her up. But it was kind of nice to see Leslie was good, but it also adds, once again, clears that fog a little bit more around Jackie's eyes when it comes to Ray. So, there's that element to it. Ray, because of Osito, had to handle the drop off of the drugs and stuff, because Osita wanted to make a point of like, no, I want you to do it. This way I have a little dirt. Like, that way I'm also willing to see how far off the reservation you're willing to go for this whole situation, Ray. And it's like, yeah, it's like, you really love that girl, don't you? He's like, I do. But it's like, yeah, I'm like, don't worry, like, you know, this is a two-way street. Like, if you ever need anything from me, like, I'll let you know. We're friends now. He's like, we're not friends. I was like, yeah, we are friends. So I was like, once again, I was kind of nervous. I was like, I don't think Osita would have a reason to pop Ray, so. But Ray was like, yo, if you know where Frankie's staying, like, let me know. Which, speaking of Frankie, I was actually surprised by the him and Rachel thing. She was a means to an end at first, but now I think he has actually grown attached to her because he found a real ride or die. Like, especially after the betrayal of Renee, who was his ride or die. Now it's like, yo, no. Like, Rachel's really down for the cause. So it's like, yo, I really like her. I actually do care for her, buying her dresses. I think there's almost some level of, like, almost like, do you think he's kind of like she is? Like, obviously she's the new Renee in a lot of ways, but I'm almost like, I wonder on some level, is he dressing her that way too? I'm like, is it just like, oh, I'm trying to treat you nice, I'm trying to wine and dine my girl? Or is it kind of like trying to make you more like Renee anyway? I mean, if he like had her dye her hair blonde, we'd be having that conversation. But like, even just like changing the way she dressed, it's just probably like I want to wine and dine you. I want you to have like the sexiest stuff possible. So he's trying to do his dealings with Shane, but Shane's like, yeah, you gotta work with Osito, and both of them have the exact same thing of, but he tried to kill me. I even love Shane being like, yo, that's funny, Frankie said the same thing about you. But yeah, neither one of them wants to work. Obviously they've got beef, everything that's going down between them. It's like, oh, we've all played a role in trying to kill each other, you know. Frankie tried to have Osito killed. Osito tried to have Frankie killed. And I even love Shane saying that point. He was talking to Frankie. He was like, oh, it's business. But like Frankie's like, no, it's my life. Which I'm like, that's ironic considering, I believe it was just last episode, Shane was talking to Osito about that very thing. So that's the irony of him being like, oh, it's all about just business. You literally told Osito that we're fooling ourselves trying to pretend like it's not business. To be fair, he just popped Owen and he was in a very emotional state trying to keep his shit together. So understandably, like, he was being vulnerable to a small degree with Osito, and he probably wouldn't keep that sincerity up. I mean, he wouldn't keep that vulnerability up, around Frankie. So maybe that's where you can kind of be like, okay, he says one thing with Osito versus saying things to Frankie. Or maybe it's just kind of meant to be like, no, he has a better relationship with Osito than he does Frankie. So maybe that's what that's supposed to imply too. So. But Frankie also went to stop by Renee's place because it's like, yo, Frankie Jr. is mine. Came to see him, had the audacity to touch Scarlett. It's like, get out of here, Ray's on his way. He's like, no, he's not. And it's like, right, I'm going to make you suffer, Renee. I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to make sure you rot in prison. It's like, well, the means of trying to make her rot in prison kind of went up in smoke because Shanice disappeared. So there's nothing on that front. But when it's all said and done, he made it clear, like, when you go away, it's like, well, Ray will be here. He's like, no, Ray won't. I would rather my son to be dead to be raised by a cop. And it's like, yeah, Frankie does have to go. That was always going to be the thing, but he managed to survive all the other situations. So Ray finds out about this, and it's like, right, we gotta make him go away. He was always going to come after us. And so Renee's like, how are you going to get rid of him? It's like, yeah, we know what it is because he got the word from Osito. At that time, he had let Osito know, like, no, let me know if you know where Frankie's going to be. Well, the trio is having their meeting, and they're supposed to sit down, and Frankie doesn't want to have the meeting with Osito. It's like, no, we're not good. But then Osito paints a certain narrative. I was like, even though at first I was like, I felt so stupid. It wasn't until the end of the episode that I was like, oh, yeah, I'm so stupid for thinking that, where I'm like, oh, Osito handled that, like, very diplomatically. I'm like, man, you were able to say, like, nah, let's put our bullshit aside. Because truth be told is, us working together, if we going at each other's throat, that means Whitey over here gets to just kind of swoop in and kind of reap all the rewards. So, like, the fact is, if we're going to do this, we're going to have to hold it down. And Frankie was like, all right. But in retrospect, being like, well, he already knows what... It works out for him perfectly. One, he already knows Ray's on the way. He's like, oh, Ray asked for the address. It's like, I know what Ray's going to do. Ray ain't going to come here for, like, no. Well, either he was hoping Ray... Well, I guess it didn't matter what Ray was going to do, whether it was like, oh, Ray's going to arrest him or whether Ray's going to kill him. Whatever way, I don't know if Osito knew for sure which way it could go. I'm sure he knew there was a high percentage Ray was going to come there to kill him. Or, whatever the case may be. But it works out for Osito. He gets to present himself in a certain way. Because if he killed Frankie, once again, it would have put him in a vulnerable position. Shane could come in and kind of take everything, yada, yada, yada. But if he does this, he puts up a strong front of like, hey, Like, I was able to put my bullshit aside with Frankie, and we're all good, we're all kosher. You're able to present this narrative in front of Shane, and Shane's like, okay, cool. You can put your bullshit aside for business, for money, for business, and all that. But then, now it's like, right, I get what I want. I get to put up this front in front of Shane, and also distance myself for whatever fallout happens to Frankie. Yo boy came up, Ray came up on him, stuck up on him with the silencer, bap, and walked. Yo, that's crazy. I was like, and that's it. Frankie's done. After everything you went through, it's like, yo, you could have been dead at the end of season 2. Nah, you managed to survive. Oh, I'm stronger. Rachel gassing you up about, like, show them how strong you are, and this is it. This is how you get popped. It's like, to be fair, you were stringing things along. Like, you thought you were, like, I don't know why you thought you'd be untouchable, because for one, you don't have the crew like you did. Like, I mean, Frankie's been going about himself. He hasn't built his power back up, so he didn't have, like, the crew around him. He was alone. He had Rachel, sure, but he didn't have Jorge, he didn't have Renee, like, he didn't even have Osito, who was with him for a while, so he lost a lot. He was all on his own to an extent. I mean, definitely in that moment he was. And you know, when you walk, you know, in that world of, like, crime, like, you know, you gotta walk a certain way, and you were just walking a little too, like, loosey-goosey, you know, not to be, like, always weary of someone, especially the shit you've been pulling with Renee and Ray. Like, of course that was gonna come back to bite you in the ass, but I guess he never thought, like, okay, they won't know where I am. Maybe he thought, like, nah, Ray's crazy, but Ray would never cross the line. It's like, you know, Renee would never do it. She doesn't have the courage to kill me. I guess that's his thought process, but you push people far enough, they will do whatever it can to protect their family. In Ray's case, protect his family. So, yeah. Shows up at the crime scene later on when word gets out, and it's just in that moment where, like, Ray's just so, like, flippant about it, because even Jackie's like, Jesus, that's rough, because they're thinking, like, right, he met with Shane and Owen, but maybe Shane or Owen killed him. Could have been, but it's like, well, why have a business meeting with him and then kill him afterwards? That doesn't make any sense. But Jackie sees it in Ray's eyes when she's like, well, regardless of him being a piece of shit, we're still gonna, like, go about this the right way, right? And then Ray's like, yeah, of course we will. Why wouldn't we? And so, like I said, in that moment, Jackie saw with 100% clarity of, like, in that moment, she's like, you did it, didn't you? First, I, like, at least the Renee thing, like, the Jorge thing, you could be like, okay, that was Ray's looking out for Renee. It's not great that he's covering it up, but now, like, looking in his eyes, she knows, like, no. You, even if you had nothing to do with Jorge, even if you were just cleaning that up, you did execute Frankie. And so, and I love that divide where it's just like, you know, Jackie walks over to Alan, and Alan says, so you chosen a side? And she doesn't say anything. They both look at Ray, and Ray's kind of looking at them like, okay, whatever. But the lines in the sand have been drawn. Jackie chose her side of, like, yeah, we're going about this the right way. Because home dude that Alan was talking to was saying, like, right, there's not much you can do about the Ray thing because that'd be career suicide. But he's like, but there is talks about reform and everything, police reform. He's like, because of conversations that have come about with the whole, like, defund the police. And Alan's like, I don't want to even hear that shit. It's like, no, but listen, the fact is that we wouldn't even have those conversations 10 years ago, but now those conversations happen on TV. So it's like, right, you can run on a platform of kind of, you know, reforming the police, and that could be your platform to kind of end up in a colonel position, like, really work your way up. And we see at the end of it all, him and Jackie have joined IA, and it's like, feels like a better fit, especially with all the corruption that's going down. But that's a very complicated road to walk, because, I mean, I've watched cop shows. I don't know any cops personally. I might have some cops in my family. I don't know. But yeah, like, you watch enough cop shows, it's like, oh my god, here's IA busting our balls again. But it's like, IA does serve a purpose of, you know, capturing some very bad apples, as, you know, Tom was referred to as by the DA. So yeah, like, so many people let so much shit slide. This is your opportunity to rectify that in some shape or form. So that's going to be interesting to see. I mean, because at the end of the day, Ray is an opportunist as well, and so is Alan, because Alan's like, no, this ain't about me, this is about Ray, and the guy that's with him is like, yeah, sure thing, Alan. And Alan's just kind of looking, because it got him thinking. I was like, yeah, it puts you in a powerful position where you never have to, like, let the Rays of the world get away, but there's still a part of, like, that's the thing of, like, there's a little gray area with a lot of these characters. Like, no one's 100% good. I think Alan has the best of intentions. I think Jackie have the best of intentions. They don't always go about things the right way. Like, I don't think Alan always has I think for the most part, he has good intentions, but I think there's a small part of him like, oh, the power. Like, that was kind of getting to him. It's like, no, it's not about me, just about Ray. But it's like, no, but it might be about me, huh? About time I get my due for all the shit I've had to deal with. I'm good at what I do. I'm a good guy. I deserve more. So, it's that back and forth with Alan's intentions. Obviously, Rachel was upset. The moment I knew Frankie was going to die, because to be fair, that was one of those things of like, I didn't know who was going to die by the end of the season. Surprised that the only person that walked away dead was Frankie. Osito's still alive. Him and Charmaine continued their business with Lady Castro and Shane. So Shane's still going. The only casualty on the Folly front was Owen, and obviously Shane did that. No one knows that Shane did that except for Shane, because like last episode, he was like, "I want you to know, none of my boys did it." Shane's like, "I know." But no one knows that he's the one that popped Owen. And no one probably ever would know. But they're still running strong, and their business is going to be flourishing. So there's that. So yeah, like Frankie's the only casualty at the end of this season. That's kind of wild. Everyone else is in some people are in better places, other people in some very fucked up places, because Ray and Renee thought they were finally free now that they had taken care of Frankie, but when it's all said and done, with Frankie being dead, it means that like Osito knows, like, oh, like that's a lot of information. Let's keep up this friendship. You're going to like Ray's going to have to go deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole of his connection with Osito. It's like either you're going to have to potentially kill Osito because he's the only one that knows for sure, but also Jackie and Alan are going to be coming after you. And Osito's no snitch, but if it benefits him, of course, he'd let Ray take the fall. But having a dirty cop on, well, let's face it, you're at the dirty cop lingo. You'd always been toting that line, and you just fully crossed it, obviously, but yeah, Osito will probably do a lot to protect Ray to some extent, as long as he doesn't have to like overextend himself, just for the purposes of, hey, I need a dirty cop on my payroll and doing me favors. So, and it's not just Ray, like Renee's mixed up in that too, and how far are they willing to go? They went this far just to protect their family. How much further are they willing to go? I brought up Rachel because my point before I went on that diatribe was, right, the moment Frankie was like, yo, I need you to strip naked on a bed and wait for me to come back, I'm like, oh, you're dead. You're not coming back from this. The moment you set it up, even when we cut to her watching TV, you can tell she's naked. So it's like, yeah. And so she probably, like, I could definitely see Rachel going on revenge and being like, oh, you killed my man. She'll probably blame Renee and Ray. She won't know for sure they did it, but that could put a target on their back. Could also put a target on Osito's back because she can blame him because of their beef and everything. So, because she knows enough to be like, okay, maybe it was Shane, maybe it was Osito, maybe even Osito could end up pointing. Like I said, he could use Ray without really caring about Ray. Like I said, he probably wouldn't go out of his way to protect him. To some extent, sure, but he won't overextend himself to do it. So he could easily point Rachel towards Ray, because you're like, yeah, you served your purposes. You're doing stuff for me to protect yourself and Renee, and I know you go above and beyond to protect Renee, but it's like, would you really go? I mean, Osito's going to be walking a little differently, because it's like, yo, I know you popped Frankie, so I need to be on my best behavior. I need to be walking a certain way so that you don't try to come after me. To be fair, got some bit backing with Lady Castro and Shane, so probably wouldn't be that easy to get to him. Like Frankie, you caught Frankie slipping, so that's one thing Osito knows. Like, oh, I can't be slipping around you, because you will get me, especially because I got dirt on you. But like I also said, like there's also the Fallbrook stuff. Like none of that's resolved. It's still up there in the air. Who knows if now that they're IA, whether they can do something that the DA couldn't do before, it puts them in a position where they can take down Fallbrook. So there could be a resolution to that. We just don't get to see it. So there's a lot of characters. Like I said, some characters are in better positions than others. Some characters walked away from this season fucked. You know, like I think Ray and Renee are kind of screwed. Frankie's dead. Rachel's kind of, it's going to be interesting to see what things go there. Osito and Charmaine are on the up. So, But I love the episode ending on Jackie being like, no, I'm in a good place. Finally out there on the boat with Ed. And I just thought that was beautiful. So now this is where I'm going to have the conversation I had before. I've not looked into it too deeply. Like I said at the beginning of the season, I only found out it was the final season because I randomly, I don't remember if I heard that on a podcast first or whether I read that somewhere first. I don't remember. Because I remember leaving a comment on the review of the season premiere, but I don't remember how I came across that knowledge first. But either way, that's as far as I knew. Like, right, it's the final season. What I don't know is whether this season is written this way because it was already written this way, and then Starz was like, sadly, you're not getting a fourth season. Or did they go into this knowing that this was going to be the final season and they wrote it this way to be open-ended? Because that's the thing of like, I don't know how much opportunity you have to change stuff. Like, because the announcement, I don't remember when the announcement was made. I did, like I said, the show premiering completely caught me off guard, and also it being the final season completely caught me off guard. I don't know if the open-endedness of like so much stuff, like some stuff resolved and some stuff left open, is just meant to be like, yeah, not everything's cut and clean, like things are left open and messy, because there's obviously room for more stories, but I don't know if it's like, hey, we didn't have a chance to rewrite things, this is how it is, and this is just how the season ends, or were they able to, is it kind of like a magician's thing where, hey, we wrote this season finale in a way like it could be a series finale or it could be a season finale depending on how things play out. I'm curious about that. I might look into that more later, but I haven't looked into it before I start recording, so I do want to kind of preface all that. So that's where I go back to my point of, I really liked the finale. I liked the fact that there's so much open-ended. Obviously, I would like more, but it being the end of what we got, it also feels poetic that this all revolved around Frankie. It ended with Frankie. There was even a line from Jackie is like, oh, it's the end of an era. So it feels poetic for like Frankie to be the end for Frankie is here. But then like there's still more story outside of Frankie, and these stories continue on. We just won't get to see them, but these stories are still going on. So like I could see this going on for like one more season if it had an opportunity to. But that's why I'm curious, like, once again, whether or not the creators got to know, like, the go-ahead ahead of time of, like, no, this is your final season, write it that way, or whether they maybe tweak things because they thought it was going to be the final season, or did they just write this thinking, hopefully we'll get a fourth season. So that's why I was saying, like, I could see why someone could walk away with this unsatisfied, because not everything is resolved, but, like, I'm perfectly fine with that, because the storylines we've kind of set up are met their conclusion to some extent. Like I said, they are going to continue on, but I like that everything is not like in a nice little bow, but it's just like, it's kind of like Your Honor. Like there's so much story that still could be told for Your Honor, but I'm perfectly fine with how it ended, because Michael's story's basically been resolved, and the effects of what his story played in the grand scheme of that world has kind of played out. It's kind of like this. Like, a lot of this revolved around Frankie, and that's kind of been dealt with, and Jackie's in a better place. So there's still more story there, but it feels like it all had a nice enough bow on it. So I'm curious how other people felt about it. Once again, it's been like 2 or 3 more weeks, so I'm sure like a lot more of those opinions are out there since then. But yeah. Either way, across the board, like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed the show. I loved the show. I thought it was kind of a great crime drama, as I brought up previously, where it's like, I don't think, like, there's so many complex characters that toe that gray line, and just, like I said, I feel like, generally speaking, Alan and Jackie are the, like, on the more good side of things, whereas, like, so many other characters toe that on the bad guy side of things, and other characters toe that gray line, because there's so much complexity to these characters, especially like a character like Jackie, who has her addictions and what that kind of does, where it's like, yeah, she has the best of intentions, but she always kind of has a tendency to fall short. So, but to see her journey from where she was, her ups and downs over the course of the show, to be where she is at the end, it does look like it's going up for Jackie, but you never know. Like, it's a lifelong struggle, so, she's in a better place. Work is getting busier with everything going on, but as long as she's able to kind of, she's learned more and attacked a lot of the root of her issues in a way she hadn't done before. So I think she's in a better spot now than she's ever been. But either way, To everyone that's been involved in the show, in front of the camera, behind the camera, from top to bottom, thanks for bringing us such a great show. And everyone involved, I wish them the best in their future endeavors. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.